Right, so the perfect WordPress client project framework, and this is what we're going to be tackling today. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process of how this came about and how we kind of figured this one out. But I'm also going to talk about the biggest bottlenecks when running WordPress projects for clients, and how we can tackle these bottlenecks to really speed up our builds without compromising on the quality, of course. So I did a quick introduction, but I kind of covered most of these stuff. This presentation is designed after researching more than 20,000 WordPress projects that have gone through our platform over the past couple of years, and just trying to figure out what are the commonalities, where do people get stuck. I interviewed a little more than 300 freelancers and agencies in our space to really pinpoint the challenges that we're all experiencing and understand what we can do to help tackle them. And this session is for you guys if you want to avoid being the bottleneck of your agency. Maybe sometimes you're feeling like the costs are spiraling out of control. I know that I was there through my agency in a few stages of the growth. The first point of contact might be you for your clients, and if you want to avoid that, and maybe just you're feeling like you're babysitting the entire agency in order for it to properly run. But what I'm going to try and do, and my goal is to help you guys gain some kind of a scalable business model for this type of service business, an agency that can run by itself without you needing to nurture it and kind of keep an eye on it all the time, because there is a proper process in place and you understand what are the pitfalls of a standard WordPress project and how we can avoid them. Increasing our regular monthly recurring revenue. And that can be done through the referral flywheel, which is a concept that I'll talk about later on today. And basically just trying to create more time for you to focus on the important stuff, whatever that may be for you. So I like to look at this as the buyback principle within the business, where as you grow, you can buy back the time for the things that you don't enjoy doing and keep doing the things that you're actually the expert on while growing the business around you. So as we're getting started, I'm going to utilize the chat feature here on Zoom. If I'm going to manage to figure out where that is, it's right here.
Oh, and now you're playing with fire.
Yeah, let's see what comes up. Where is it though? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Next to participants.
Yes, got it here. Oh yeah, I'm just reading a guy's comment here. So I'd like to ask you, everyone that has joined us today, and thanks for having me, David. I heard a lot about this mega meetup, and I said that I will attend quite a few times, and then it's always like 11 p.m. and I'm like, no way. So don't
worry, I get that a lot.
The only way is to actually come and hang out in this kind of way. So I'd like to ask everyone that has joined us today, how long does it take you to build a basic business website on your own? No clients, no, just you and your browser. We're talking about those 5 to 10 basic pages. This is the example project that we're going to be using throughout this presentation, even though those principles can be applied to any scale of projects from the smallest website all the way to a 1-year project or more. But we get 1 week, 2 days, 2 to 3 days. What else we have? 10 to 15 hours, right? 3 to 5 days. We got 3 to 4 weeks from design to development. We got 3 to 4 days. Right. So we're talking about those small business websites. That's to answer Christine's question, those basic business 5 to 10 pages type of site, right? I think we're in agreement that it takes a few days to do this, right? But the average that I usually get is between 3 to 5 days, and that's pretty much what we're seeing right here. Now, how long does it take you to build that same website with a client? And let's see what people come up here with. Now, it's not just you in the browser. There is a stakeholder or a client that needs to be walked through the process. We have 1 month, multiply the figure by 4, right? We have 3 to 5 weeks, 1 year from Ron here. I got 2 months, 6 weeks, 1 to 6 months, right? Months and months and months. So obviously something is kind of weird here. The standard is basically 4 to 6 weeks. That's the average in our industry. And to build it on our own takes between 3 to 5 days. To build it with a client, just one stakeholder that joins the process, that increases the project between 4 to 6 weeks. That's an increase of more than 400% to the actual build time. And if you look at this from the full scope of the project, basically it is 83% of the project is just working with the client. It's not even building anything. So what is the 83%? The 83% can be client delays, procrastination, back and forth, scope creep. One side doesn't really know what the other side is talking about. You're just trying to catch them, and they just went off for a few days holiday. And then when you're back, you're kind of already busy with other projects. So you take a few days, and the whole thing just spirals out of control. If everything goes well, and we can see that even from the comments, we're talking 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes this even takes a lot longer. We had one client that we were chasing for the About Us page for more than a year, just to get us that one page to actually continue with the project. So if all goes well, we're going to add more than 400% to the project, right? And now we also need to look at this from the profitability point of view. What does that do? Because a lot of us, especially as we're starting off, we are looking at this, at the build time, as what it takes to build a website. Sure, this is a pretty basic website. It's going to take me 3 to 5 days. I can do that. But as we're building more and more sites, we start to realize that actually 3 to 5 days can be done in $1,000, $1,500. Maybe when I started my first project, a few projects were $500 that I was charging from friends and family, which seemed right at the time, right? But as you're actually going through those projects, then there is nothing left at the end of it. This is because most times we don't even account for this. Now, in one word, this entire mess is the collaboration. We have two keywords throughout the project. One is the build, and the other one is the collaboration. We have 83% on this end. And this is a good example of David. One of the reasons why we started our summit, to focus more on the business and the education around that, because most of the content that is generated in the space is geared around the build. And that is great, because that's how we managed to go from building a page in 15 hours with straight up code to actually building a page with page builders or with Gutenberg now in about 30 minutes. The same result that took us 15 hours now takes us about 30 minutes. That's what we should be doing for this. We need to bring this up to speed with the time that it actually takes to create the website. So what is the 83%? So we're talking about these client delays, the back and forth, all of the mess that goes around into working with those clients. But actually we can boil it down to 3 main bottlenecks that happen within most website projects in the space. The first one, and the largest one, is gathering content. That is actually something that more than 78% of the people that we surveyed are struggling with, getting content from their clients. The second one is getting the designs approved. Now, it's not just getting something that, I don't mean just the client telling you make the logo bigger or this needs to pop. We need to have actionable feedback from them that we can take action on, right? That we can actually help them with and revise the design with the least amount of back and forth to make sure that we're in line with their vision as well as ours, based on our research and the discovery and all of that kind of stuff, right? And the final one is providing support. So I can give you kind of an example for this one from a personal story. When we were So right after the build, we onboard everyone onto care plans and retainers. That's the only way to actually work with the agency if you're on the payroll, if we're on the payroll. One day we got a message from a client that has an e-commerce website with more than 900 products on it and hundreds of blog posts. You can imagine it's a pretty large website. And the message was, the button is missing, right? That's it. Or sorry, it was the add to cart button is missing. So we're freaking out. What's going on? This shop is making hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. And maybe people can't buy on the shop. So we go around and we start looking for what button is missing. And everywhere we look, we can see buttons as far as we can see. And so we go back to the client and we're telling them that we can see all the buttons. Here is a screenshot. Can you please pinpoint what you're talking about? And he is standing, and I could picture him in his day. He's standing at his shop, and a client came to him and told him, and actually showed him that the button was missing for one of the products. And he's dealing with other people in his brick and mortar shop. And he's just texting back saying, the button is missing. Right? And this kind of dance took more than a few days to just try and figure out what's going on, because there's, of course, communication cycles, and it takes some time for him to reply back and for us to go and check again and see what's going on, and different browsers and all of these kind of things. Eventually, what it was one WooCommerce product that ran out of stock. So the theme hid the button, right? But the whole thing was just a mess to try and figure out what we're talking about instead of just seeing it straight away. So that's what I mean by providing support. There's a lot of communication breakdowns in there. Also, after the builds, people's mindset shift. They no longer are focused on you. They're focused on other fires and projects that they have within their business. So the messages become shorter and shorter when it comes to people requesting support, right? But this is from the highest severity to the least one. And because there's not much time, I kind of gave you a few examples of these ones. Hopefully that will help tackle a little bit of these. But I also want to map it out. I wanted to map this out on the standard project framework that we're seeing from the most amount of agencies. This is the most common framework in our space. And today, because of lack of time, I'm going to focus on the biggest one, which is gathering content. But I'd like to invite you to go to the YouTube channel that I shared here on the chat as well, or find Adorim. And there's also additional training on the other ones as well. But I'm going to tackle the biggest one. So what are we looking at here? We have a standard project, and I'm sure that a lot of you are going to recognize some of these components, or if not all of these components within your own workflows. First, we get the proposal signed. We get some of the deposit, 30%, 50% in from the client. Then we go into a deep discovery session. Of course, there was a little bit of a discovery up here, but then we really dive in and we try to understand the business. After a proper discovery, we're going to go and we're going to build a sitemap. The sitemap is going to give us, and more importantly, them, the overview of the project so that we can communicate on what we're trying to achieve from a bird's eye view before we're going into the details. And a lot of us skip this, and that creates a lot of challenges further down the road if we do. And then we have wireframes and prototypes, which again, this is one of those steps that a lot of us sometimes skip. Mostly on even the smaller projects, we tend to say, nah, it's not important. Let's just jump straight to the design. But we often forget that this is not for us, actually. This is for the client, and we'll talk about this as well. And then, of course, we have the development, the design, we have a couple of revisions, and then we launch, and then ideally we onboard the client onto some kind of a maintenance, or as we call it in WordPress, a care plan. For ongoing kind of a support. So I mapped out the challenges or the bottlenecks within the projects, and you can see that gathering content, in most cases, people ask for the content while they're doing the discovery. So you kind of talk to the client and you tell them that we're going to need you to provide the content, or we can hire a copywriter on your behalf and get started, but I'm going to need some intake from you to give it to them. In any case, there is an involvement from the client side to get the ball rolling. On the smaller projects, a lot of times they're going to try and do it themselves, which creates even more challenges for us. The point is that it usually starts here. And again, if all goes well, it's going to end right here, just before the launch. Just the final piece of text, the final kind of piece of content is going to arrive. And then we're going to do some kind of final changes and push the whole thing live, right? And it goes through the entire project, and that's what usually delays the project the most. Then we have the design approval. It usually starts before when we deliver the wireframes. We got to approve the wireframes and get some revision rounds in here. And of course, quality support requests happens on the support part. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't consider or kind of miss out, and I was guilty of that myself for many years, is that we would focus on this line and not so much on this, on the client touch points. But again, this is the 83%, not this. Right, and that is a completely a change of mindset that we need to make in order for us to understand really our position within that relationship. The fact that we're not building a website, we're providing website building services, and we need to work with the client and take them along for the ride to make sure that everyone is enjoying the entire experience. So, as we can see, getting a project done is not an easy task. It's something, it's like climbing a mountain. And for us, sometimes it feels like that. So you can, if you're going to put yourself in your client's shoes for just a few seconds, you can imagine how difficult it is for them. When interviewing a lot of web design clients, you can really see that a lot of them equate this to a build project, like a physical renovation of their house. And that is something that I think we can all relate to, and how painful that process is. And this is really how they see, a lot of them are kind of looking at their web design experiences throughout the years. It's as painful as building a new house, which is kind of crazy, right? Now, when it comes to what we want from them, usually that is really our mindset throughout the project. We just want to get them the content. We just want to get the content from them. And literally from the first day, from the discovery session, it's go, 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 get me the content. Please send me the About Us page. I need the About Us page. Can you please send me a few images? What do you think about these images? Can you send me this? We need to send a photographer. This is not good enough. Let's get this done in a different way. Here is a spreadsheet. Can you please fill out those things? Here is a Google Doc, you know, well, let's things. Here's my Dropbox link. Drop things in there so I can take it out after, you know. It's always just like trying to move them around instead of having the project move smoothly. And really, there's a lot of friction in there. Now, instead of giving them the tools and the know-how, a lot of times we would drop them into a blank Google Sheet or Google Doc and just say, go, 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 right? We'll see that here as well. Now, this brings me back to what I was talking about, understanding our position in this relationship. Because we're not just trying to build a website, we're trying to create a website that is going to be valuable for a client, which means that we need to take them along for the ride. And even more than that, I'm sure that a lot of you would agree that the more we're actually going to involve the client in a productive way, not allowing them to make us a mouse for hire, but illustrating what we're actually doing for them, that adds to the perception of value in their eyes, and they're more likely to pay on time. They're more likely to do the things that we're asking of them. That builds our authority in the relationship that ideally should go for years after the build. So we shouldn't, the build is just the first step out of a long-term relationship. So focusing on the biggest bottleneck, why do clients delay content delivery? What makes them do this? And I boiled this down to 5 main points, and we're going to tackle each one of these points together. But just to give you a quick, brief overview of those 5 points, we're framing the task as a 2 to 4 week task or project. We're asking for content without any context or clarity for the client. Sometimes we would, or most times, we'd be asking for the content as soon as the project starts, as we saw on the layout of the challenges, expecting the client to know how to do it. And finally, the last one is threatening the client with a contract clause that if they're not going to deliver the content by this time, by this date, we're just going to deliver the website and we want to get paid, of course, at the end of it, right? So let's tackle each one of those things. The first one, we're framing the task as a 2 to 4 week task. 2 to 4 week task is no longer a task, it's a project. And a lot of us here are business owners in this meetup. So I would like to ask you, when was the last time that you had 2 to 4 weeks to focus on one thing and one thing alone within your business? Right, before I had kids, I like that. Yes, never. We got never from Ron. Last week, that's great, Anne. You need to get some more clients to the door, that's for sure. And we got never, and never from Frey. So what really, as a busy business owner, it doesn't exist. And really, we know that it doesn't really take 2 to 4 weeks to create the copy for the website. I'm talking the textual content for the website. It doesn't take 2 to 4 weeks. We're giving them 2 to 4 weeks because we got burnt so many times in the past that we think that the way to overcome this is just by extending the time that is allocated to this task. But really what is happening is that we're signaling to them that this is how long it takes because they don't know. Even if they did do this, they probably did this 3 to 4 years ago when they last redesigned their website. So they're trusting us when we tell them that you have 2 to 4 weeks to do this. I'm like, okay, cool. But when can you start a 2 to 4 weeks project? I don't know. I never had this amount of time within my business, right? Now, let's look at a realistic time frame of creating copy for a website. And if we're just looking at the homepage as an example, what is the copy on the homepage? The copy of the homepage is essentially a conversation at a dinner party. You have someone sitting next to you and asking you, David, so what do you do for a living? And you would just tell them your H1 instantly, right? I build websites for clients in Florida or something like this, right? And then oh, that's cool. Actually, I'm kind of interested because I need to build a website. So how does that work? So you're going to give them the tagline. And it's like you're gonna ask them, do you wanna do something about it? Let me show you the call to action, right? And then after this, right? After this, they're gonna, if they need more information, they're gonna inquire about how does this work, or why are you different or better from others? And then we have those 3 icons, right, that display the 3 benefits. And after this, we're going to oh, that's pretty cool. How did you get started with this? So we're going to give them a paragraph about us, right? So basically, it's just a conversation that we're having with a few calls to action sprinkled along the way to give them an out. That is what website copy is, and that's why those type of homepages work, because they actually are mocked up human psyche that evolved over generations and generations of how we tell a story. And so that conversation could have taken 10, 15 minutes, definitely not 2 to 4 weeks at that dinner party. You know, we all need to go home at some point. And so that is really what we want to keep in mind, those exact timeframes when we're asking for those different things. So when we're framing it, or the challenge is that, or the problem is that we're framing this as a 2 to 4 week task. Instead, there is a really cool way to look at this, which is 2 days and a weekend. 2 days and a weekend is a magical frame for creating accountability around tasks that needs to get done, because it does a few things. First of all, it signals to the person that if they're not going to do it over the next 2 days, they need to do it on the weekend. And then what it also does, it allows them to think about when. So if we say between in the next 2 to 4 weeks, I'm going to need this. So in the next 2 weeks, in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to need this. It doesn't get them to open up their calendar and try to figure out when exactly they're going to do this. But the 2 days in a weekend frame definitely allows us to really think about when I am going to do a certain task, or else I'm going to face this over the weekend, right? Now, we were talking about those small websites, those 5 to 10 business pages. That's fine, 2 days in a weekend. But this frame, or this concept of short time frames that are precise, is something that we can scale up even to the largest projects. Even if you look at this from how large tech companies run tasks, it's never about, okay, go and give it to me in 4 weeks. No, it's about short, precise sprints that are divided into smaller tasks that people can actually wrap their head around. And so if we have a bigger task, or there are 500 products that we need to get pictures and descriptions and all of those kind of things, we should batch it into small time intervals. Initially, I'm going to need those 30 products so that we can see the layouts and stuff. You have 2 days in a weekend to give me those 30 products, right? And then over the week after that, we're going to need an additional 100 website products, and so on and so on. Next, the next challenge that, or the next problem that happens in our space. Oh, I don't know why this statue decided to disappear here. I thought it was a cool one though. Yes. Oh, yeah. Shorten it. No. Okay. Asking for content without context or clarity. So basically what is happening is, in most cases, we would tell the client, okay, this is what we're going to do. Everyone is super excited during the discovery, and now it's on you. I need to get the content, right? Here is a Google Drive link, or here is those kind of here's my Dropbox link. Go in there, drop everything in there. It needs to be organized though, right? The furthest we've gone is creating a blank Google Doc, sending the link to the Google Doc, and just write everything in here. Even if we want to take it a step further, that would be a spreadsheet that defines H1. Then I need a paragraph for this. I need 2 sentences for that. I need 5 things for this, right? Those form systems and things like that that do this kind of stuff. And why can we do that? Because we can imagine the website in our minds. We're kind of like those car mechanics that can hear the problem in the engine when the car drives into the shop, right? That is our expertise. When a client talks to us for a few minutes, when we close our eyes, just 3 to 5 minutes, we can imagine how the website is going to look like. We can create a mental image in our mind that will allow us to then make it a reality inside the browser. That's our profession. That's what we do, right? They don't have this skill. In the same way that I can listen to a car all night long, and I wouldn't even know if it's a cartwheel or a bicycle, you know. That's not my skill. And in the same way that you'd go to a doctor and he'd hear you cough and he say, oh, this guy probably has this and that, right? So they don't have that clarity. They don't have this context of what we're trying to create for them. And that creates a whole bunch of problems for them when they're trying to tackling the task. So when or where should we gather content? So from my research, what I found is that the ideal time to gather the content is actually here, during this stage, where after we've created some kinds of a wireframe or a prototype for the website. Now, I know a lot of you are here from the content first days, right? Who's here up for content first? Who is an advocate of content first? I know that I was for many years. I can't do anything without getting the content first, right? Content first. I'm not going to move a finger until we get the content first, right? Now, that was true back in the day when a website looked like a blog post with a few images sprinkled in the middle. That made sense. You had to have the content. The text was driving the experience. Nowadays, that's not the case at all. Design by far is leading the experience. We know how the website is going to look like, and I'm not disregarding the importance of well-crafted copyrighted content on our website, but really, when you look at 99% of the websites on the internet, they look the same, and for a good reason. They have the exact same structure to them. You know, you might find, and the other 1% are the ones you find on awards.css or something like that, that also look kind of the same in a different way, right? And again, that goes back to what we were talking about before, that a website is just a reflection of how a story should be told. That's how a page is designed. It goes from big concepts on the H1, and then it starts breaking down those concepts into deeper and deeper layers as you scroll further down the page. Now, I'm not talking about SEO. Well, SEO, that's an important part of this, because I saw Joel's it kind of popped to me. I don't disagree. And I'm not saying that content is not important. I'm just saying that the website layout was created even before you started building the website, because 99% of websites have the same. And we can open David's website or anyone here on the thing, and we're going to see the same structure, which is fine. That's how it should be. So what we can do is we can create this layout and have it completely bare boned, and then ask for the content, where we can provide the client with the clarity and the context that they need in order for us to leave those comments. That's and this would be my only plug for the night here, David, where we're basically, I want to show you how Adarim can help with this, with a lot of things, but also with this. And let me just try and figure out how to exit this, exit full screen. And we're going to take your website, David. I'm going to drop it in here. Oh, I'm going to drop it inside my Adarim account. So Adarim is a platform that helps web agencies and freelancers to collaborate visually with their clients. And what you do is you can either drop in a URL and start collaborating visually within a few seconds, or you can install the WordPress plugin that gives you a lot more deep integration into the site. And there we have it. We have who is this guy? Right? And we can make the logo bigger, please, here. And scroll down and add all of these pieces of content. And then we have the about us, and then we have some kind of the values. And of course, we have a few grids like we should have. And of course, we have the calls to actions towards the end with our contact details right here, right? So we could just click on anything and say, the text here should be this. What it does, it gives the client the clarity and the context that they need to actually perform on these tasks. Go back. Yeah, it work? No? Right. So when we're talking about creating context, creating clarity, we can utilize technology to bridge those gaps. And instead of sending the client up a mountain without any tools, without any shoes, we can empower them with the right tools and the right knowledge and the right context so that they can perform the task. And then the next one that we have here is asking for the content as soon as the project starts. So what usually happens with this, and this is a pretty interesting concept, during the discovery, everyone is happy. Everyone is excited about the upcoming project. The sky is the limit, right? We can do anything during the discovery. There is no limitations to the project. It's just limited by the budget and the amount of time that we want to dedicate to this. We can really do anything. And so with this excitement, we send them off to do the 2 to 4 weeks project for us, and basically just take the entire wind out of the sails of the project. We kill the project like this guy. This is what the client looks like, right at the end of it. And what happens is that we just killed the entire momentum of the project because we ask for something straight away instead of giving them the clarity and providing them with the essence of what's going on. Now, there's another aspect to it, and I like to look at relationships like a bank. In order for us to make some significant withdrawals, we got to make some deposits. Now, let's look at this relationship with a client at this stage. As soon as the project starts, they made a significant deposit in the form of a deposit, right? They gave us literally 30 to 50% of the value of the project before we even did anything. We were good salespeople by then. That's all that we've been. And then from that point, the next thing that we do is we make the largest withdrawal of the project even before it even started. We made no deposits into this relationship at that point. We just took the money and we sent them off to do some homework, right? And I like to look at this as well from the point of view of what would happen if I go to a restaurant and the waiter is going to give me the menu. I'm going to look at this, and there's so many amazing dishes on this menu. I just want to have them all. And then the guy comes over and is talking about their specials, and he's asking about my allergies, if I have any. And he's like, do you like this kind of stuff? Do you like that kind of stuff? No, he's basically doing some kind of a discovery process with me to sell the best meal that I'm going to have over the next few hours, right? And then I already have drool coming out from the corner of my mouth, and I'm ready to order. I'm gonna pick this and this and that. Let's do it. I give him the menu. He's like, okay, perfect. Now all you need to do is just go get me the ingredients, and I have the chef right here in the back is gonna make the meal for you, right? Like, what do you mean? I just came in here for the meal, no, but that's fine. We're gonna get you the meal, but first you need to go to the market and get me the ingredients, and then I'm gonna make you the meal. And just so that you know, if you're gonna walk out of the restaurant right now because you sat down, if you're gonna walk up to this stage, you still need to pay me for the meal, right? So it's a bit of a kind of an exaggerated example to give you a perception of how our clients are looking at those things. And so what do we want to do instead? Instead, we want to deliver before we ask for anything. And that is the true purpose of the sitemap and the prototypes or the wireframes. It's not for us. We know what we want to build because we talked about this in the first 5 minutes of having the phone call with the client. We can already close our eyes and imagine how David's website is going to look like, right? And so the entire process is just for them. We're going to make these deposits so that we can make this larger withdrawal later on. And they're not hard. These are two extremely quick and easy deliverables for us to do if we're doing them in the right methodology. But creating a sitemap, and again, we're giving that example of the 5 to 10 page website, creating a sitemap, even on a split, even on a on a Canva item, something that looks like this, homepage, contact us, right? Privacy policy, something that just like as basic as this would take us 5 to 10 minutes. We can deliver this straight after the build, straight after the discovery. Within the same day, we can send out the sitemap, and then we create momentum in the project. Instead of draining all of the energy before we even started by sending them off for 2 to 4 weeks and don't talk to me until you give me the content, we're going to do something. We're going to make those few deposits into their process so that they can see that they can rely on us. We build the trust, we build momentum, because if we sent over the sitemap 30 minutes after the discovery, maybe even the morning after, they're gonna be, oh my God, this guy is on it. I should step up, right? As opposed to not hearing from me for 2 weeks after they paid a significant deposit. So that's why we do this here, because we ask after we give. And so the next one, expecting the client to know how to do it. And we kind of talked about, I'm gonna run through this one because I can see that I'm running out of time here, but expecting the client how to do this. I have just one question. Why? Why would we expect them to know how to do any of these stuff? That's not their reality. That's not their day-to-day. You know, I call a plumber because I don't want to get under the sink and figure out what's going on over there. If he's going to come over and expect me to know which rubber band brand Z4D needs to be picked up from that local provider that is 5 blocks away, but not that one, the one across the street from him, then I could do it on my own, but I don't want to do it. I just hired someone to know that it's you're not going to find this piece here, you're going to find it there. And I expect him to know. I'm hiring him to be the expert, right? And that's the same mindset that our clients expect of us. And again, it comes back to the point that we're not building websites. We're providing a website building service. So instead, you want to create instead of expecting the client to know how to do this, you want to create a natural learning curve. So you want to take the client along for the ride. You send them that sitemap so that they can understand what you're going to be building for them from the bird's eye view. And you approve this sitemap so that you don't get scope creep later on of additional pages and features that were not discussed at that stage. And then you send the layouts in the form of wireframes so that we can understand how the pages, the main pages of the websites are going to be structured, so that you don't need to have this conversation again after you completely delivered the design and the product. But also to give them that clarity, because they're seeing things forming from the ground up. With every step, we're taking them deeper into the rabbit hole along for the ride with us, so that by the time that they can see a design, they can actually experience the design instead of just seeing it as a rectangular box like my screen. They can see the depth of what we created for them because they came along for the ride and because we allowed them to have a natural learning curve along with us. The final one. And with this, I'm going to kind of wrap things up around this. And I just want to kind of clarify a little bit around the scope of the whole thing. So sometimes we feel that by adding stages, we're actually adding time. But my mindset is not around adding more stages so that we can extend the project. We want to bring it down to a more realistic point of view. For those that joined us later on, at the beginning, we saw that a website project on our own takes about 3 to 5 days, and with clients takes 4 to 6 weeks. And there's an increase of more than 400% that is solely due to collaboration, miscommunications, client delays, procrastinations, and all of those kind of things. So what we want to do is we want to squash the timeline, not extend it with additional stages. But by creating momentum into the project, we're doing and by empowering the client with the tools and the knowledge that they need in order for them to come along for the ride with us, we're actually allowing them to complete the project a lot faster. And that is something that I saw again and again for the hyper systemized agencies. They have these processes in place to make sure that the client understands what they're doing at any given moment. And it's not just asks, it's work that is being done together in short and set time frames that account for a smaller process throughout the project itself. But then again, cutting all of those client delays and those back and forth through providing clarity and context for the work that we're doing with them. And the final one, and the one that pains me the most, is threatening the client with a contract clause. So let me know in the chat, who has a clause in their contract that says that if the client is not going to provide us with the content, they still need to, they're going to get a lorem ipsum website and they still need to pay for the project. Who has this in their contract, right? my contract to a restart fee. Yeah, that's a good idea. And we have run. Yeah, 3 business days is what you get, or we take it as approval and move forward. That's a cool way to look at this as well, Maestro. Right. So in most of the contracts that you would see, in most of the contracts, that the standardized contracts that you will see in our space, there is a section around content that puts the responsibility solely on the client. But who is the service provider? We are the service provider. We're not building a website. We're providing website building services. They expect to be taking through a journey so that at the end of it, they have a complete project or a product that they can actually use to grow their business. They're not expecting a lorem ipsum website, right? So when at first, when this happened, I invoked the clause like everyone else. I had no fear, I just came after them because everyone in all the Facebook groups told me that this is what I need to do. I need to stand my ground against the devil that is trying to take my money. And I need to tell them that they need to pay if they didn't provide the content. And the more projects that we did, then I realized that it was actually not their fault. There was something faulty in my process. And again, it didn't happen all the time. It happened pretty rarely, but it did happen. But then I started looking at this from more of a business owner, from a service provider point of view. And I started to take this responsibility over to my side to recognize and understand that if I didn't manage to take them through the project, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. If I didn't manage to provide them with a complete product at the end, I need to revise my process so that it doesn't happen again. I don't need to put the responsibility solely on them. So now I'm not saying that there shouldn't be contracts, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have this agreement, because some people are crazy. Some clients are truly crazy. That's just part of just a statistic. Some humans are crazy, right? It's hard to work with some people, and they're, no matter what you're gonna do, they're never gonna be happy about anything. That's just reality. But for them, we want to invoke these clauses. The way I look at this, the project, the first build, is just the first step in that relationship with clients that went on from building $2,000 websites with us and grew to invest $9,000 to $15,000 a month retainer with us a few years later as their business grew. So I want to maintain this relationship. I want to maintain this work with them. And for that, I have to make sure that I don't pull out a contract. If I pull out the contract, it's already too late. So have it in there, but never look at this as an option. This is like just when things go extremely, extremely sideways. What we want to do is empower them with tools and knowledge. As we discussed, your clients are relying on you to take them through the building process and deliver a complete product. And again, we have a broken image in here, but I'm pointing at it. So hopefully that means something, right? And thank you, everyone. Thanks, David, for having me. And if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer.
Hey, thank you very much. Virtual round of applause. See, there's my clap.
Thank you.
My yellow clap for some reason. Yellow or white? I can't. Zoom always gets my colors mixed up. It's embarrassing sometimes. We might have time for a couple of questions, and while we have Guy, you were monitoring stuff. What were some of the highlights there?
Sure. Going back to the beginning, Mimi Alonso asked, do you need wireframes if you're using a theme?
Is that a question or is that a statement?
She was asking if you still need to use wireframes if you're using a theme.
Yes, I would say yes. Like the standardized way of building website, or let's say professionally custom built websites nowadays is through page builders and Gutenberg and these kind of things. So in most cases, we would be creating the layouts ourselves, even though, again, like I said, they're kind of the same. But in a lot of those tools, you can already find wireframes, templates that you can just deploy and work with them. Also within Adarim, for example, we provide those templates for all of our users in all of the major page builders. We have them for Elementor and Beaver Builder, Divi, Gutenberg, Oxygen, and all of those different friends, so that you can just deploy it instead of creating it from scratch, which is another thing. If I had more time to talk a little bit about the approved design and the flow of the project, that's another thing that a lot of times we do, which is basically we're taking the project from one step to the next into different platforms, instead of utilizing a workflow that builds on top of the previous step, like a waterfall. That's in project management, they call it the waterfall. I learned it from Beth, that is here on the session. Basically the idea is that when I'm creating the sitemap, the way we do it is with a small plugin that takes the WordPress menus and lays them out as a sitemap. So this way, we already created the pages that later on we would deploy these wireframe templates, and later on we would just dress up those templates with the colors and the fonts and the styling of that website. So nothing is wasteful. Everything is built on top of the other instead of going from one step to the next. Really, I hope this helps.
All right, thank you. Ron Amick asked, do clients need to sign up for a subscription or install any software in order to use Adarim?
No, it's if it's on the WordPress site, it's on the WordPress website. The way we look at this is that the professionals are our clients, and the professionals' clients are their clients. So that's why we also have extreme white label everywhere, so that your clients feel that it's your tool, with your colors, with your logo everywhere. So you're going to see our logo as our customers, but your customers are going to see yours, and they're not going to pay for anything.
All right, thank you. Brian Zajac asks, can the client make any actual edits to the text? For example, changing the size of a header?
They can ask you to do it.
Okay.
Then you can make the change, and they will see it in real time. But the whole point is basically kind of annotations on the live or the staging website. But that's just the front end of it. In the back, there is an email inbox. We have task management tools that allow you to take work that is coming in from multiple clients at the same time and prioritize them, make sure that you distribute them to the team, automatic notifications, automatic reports, integrations to all of the other PMs and the tools that people are using. So it's really a full-on deep platform, really.
All right. Thank you. That wraps up the questions that I noted.
Okay, awesome.
Do you have that slideshow? Is that something that you could send us that we could include a link?
Definitely. I'll do that.
Great. Perfect.
So what tools do you use outside of this tool that you commonly use when you communicate with clients? Any organizational tools or task manager tools, anything you use personally that you can recommend? There's a number that usually come up when we ask these questions, and I don't want to get into a religious holy war about this. Certainly don't want to get into political stuff, but I mean, what are you usually most feel comfortable using?
So when we were, or before this, the Adarim, we were using Teamwork to manage all of the tasks and all of the time and all of the, like tracking time and making sure that we have all of this stuff. And now there's no need for any of this. You can integrate to all of these tools if you want, but you don't need to. You can track time inside it. Every task that comes into your either from the visual interface or inside the built-in support desk, like email-based support desk, that can be managed from there as a task. So really the difference, David, is that as opposed to using those, and that's why people were patching up tools together, because nothing was specific to our industry. Everything was extremely generic, and we were trying to patch them all together to create some kind of a messed up workflow. And in most cases, I would say 95% of us are not project managers. We're not even qualified to play with these tools because that's not our game. Most of us come into this game from the creative point of view. We just want to build. We want to create something, create solutions, and build beautiful things, and not understand concepts of project management and workflows and these kind of things. So Adarim just took the best practices from the industry and created a system that allows the project to slide in. So when it comes to sitemaps, everything is done inside the WordPress website with a free plugin. When it comes to wireframes, we provide, and then with Adarim to annotate the sitemap. When it comes to the wireframes, we provide the templates for your favorite page builder, and then you can annotate with Adarim. And of course, when you're doing your designs and all those kind of things, and then well over to the support through either the annotations on the website or through the email-based support desk. So the goal was to create the tool that I wish we had when I was scaling the agency, really.
Okay. I would have thought a time tool. I was looking for a particular kind of time tracking tool for me personally.
Yeah, there's always of course there's time tracking in there and time sheets. You can export the whole thing. Yeah.
So we have another question. Do the notes and annotations made during Atrium sessions get saved somewhere?
Sorry, can you say it again?
Do the notes and annotations during the sessions, do they get saved somewhere?
Yes, so it's saved inside the agency dashboard, which allows us, if we're gonna go exit here.
We can take your word for it if you can't go to it quickly enough.
Yeah, but basically this is all sitting here with all of my assets, all of the different websites that I'm managing from one place. And you can see we have 3 tasks on David's website, and we wanna also tackle them one by one. You know, we can see some automated screenshots, the screen size, browser version, move them to in progress, which notifies the client immediately, assign this to team members, start tracking the time. And, you know, the whole thing is just like designed for our type of work.
So here's the last question for you, because I'm sure Anne's just warming up her hands right now like this. And we know it's getting close to your bedtime. So from a 10,000 foot perspective, not talking about the product necessarily, generally speaking, because how long have you been in, this is the prelude to the question, how long have you been building sites? Number of years, right? You said talk about GeoCity. So you've been doing it probably as long as I have, right?
Yeah,
at least a decade and a half, two decades. Yeah. So with the complexity, the sites today, even a quote unquote simple site today, it's more complex than it was like 10 years ago. What do you personally think is the most complex thing that people have to think of today when it comes to workflow and content that we didn't have to think about 10 years ago?
The dynamic relations within the website itself, that creates a whole new level of complexity, because when things were static, and you know, there's now a comeback, like everything comes back again, like the fashion. So now people are going back to those static type of websites, but with a different twist to them. But over the past 10 years, it's definitely been the dynamic aspect of it, and trying to understand how we can create repeatable content that is still unique and still matches a uniform approach for the entire website. I think that's the for the larger projects that we've done, and we've done you know, projects that were easily around above the $100,000 eventually. That was always the big challenge. A lot of content and at scale. And WordPress, actually, there's other CMSs that are specifically focused on these challenges for large e-commerce shops and news sites and things like that. In WordPress, it's pretty hard to organize, and it's pretty hard to gather all of these stuff. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest challenge.
I agree more. Like Beth was saying about the block editor, that's a completely different from the build experience. From a content perspective, I mean, there are still sites today you could build. I mean, landing pages today have gotten even a little bit more complex than they were a decade ago, just because of all the tracking and all of the even behind the scenes a little bit. I don't think maybe the content has changed that much. Yeah, because people really don't. People want to read less now than they did 10 years ago. But
That's
even
right. Yes.
so, it's you know, it's sometimes maybe it's more production goes into a video, or more but more thought goes into the photos or the content. But you know, like I think from our perspective, it's not exactly as much of the, you know, what's gotten more difficult hasn't necessarily been in the content on the front end necessarily for the simple sites. It has been for the tools that need to build them. But you're absolutely right that there's a lot of dynamic content, repeatable content that changes depending upon what device you're looking at, where you're located in the world, language. Even a quote unquote simple site now, especially for the people that I talk to, it has to be in like at least a couple different languages, or, you know, customize a little bit, whether the user is aware of it or not. But
And in different languages, the text is in different lengths, which breaks the designs and kind of thing. You know, like in German, a four-letter word in English would be like 12 characters, right?
yeah, well, I know a lot of four-letter words. But anyway, thank you very much. Again,
Thank you. Thanks
we
for
give,
having me.
yes, we give the pathetic one, the please clap emoji. So really appreciate it. Yeah, if anybody has any final comments or questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. And if he can keep his eyes open for a few more minutes, and if you have to go, go. We're not, you know, we release you from your bonds.
Thank you.
So
Thanks a lot, everyone.
speaking of bonds, we've got new bonds now for Anne. Say hi, Anne.
Hi.
Hey,
I
oh God, I
muted
thought we lost you.
myself.
No, we don't want anybody dying in the middle of our WordPress meetup here. Not like last month. All right, so Anne, why don't you go ahead and see if you can share your screen for us? And we now, some of the people in the chat already are starting to, when I just asked that question about the complexities that we didn't have to think about 10 years ago regarding content. Somebody, I guess that was a trigger, emotional trigger for some people. And they go, oh my God, Vietnam, no, block editor. And that's, whether you love it or hate it, or you lost the bet, the block editor is something that WordPress people are definitely dealing with. And we want it, and you're going to give us kind of your take on it. It is familiar, but you know, we want, not familiar, I guess we've seen it for a little bit of while, but it is good to make sure that we have the basics, especially right after that content talk. I know now we've got the content, now we need the editor, just making sure that we got all our basics in line. So feel free to take it away. We never talked about how long this is. Can you tell me how long this is? Just in case I know how long I can grab my snacks.
Oh, it'll be about 30 minutes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I got a lot of snacks, so that works perfectly. So you go ahead and take it away.
Okay. I'm just going to orient myself here. When I share a screen, I often lose my chat. So let me get that back up.
No problem. If anybody wants to ask questions, by the way, we'll see how much time we have at the end, but just put, you know, the big caps question. And thank you, Vito. Vito is already falling asleep. Just go ahead and put the word, just put big ass question. I'm sorry, this is a family program. Big butt question right there in the chat, like I just did now. So we can, so me and Guy can pick out any quick questions that we might be able to give to Anne. So
yeah, it's interesting to see some of the comments. So
yes, fortunately, people have been, thank you,
yeah.
people. I wanted to say too, code of conduct wise, I didn't even start off with code of conduct, but you know, yes, like that. Do you like this as an example? Thank you. That was also a question. Yes, thank you for everybody for behaving yourselves, by the way. This is supposed to be like a WordPress meetup, family friendly type of thing. Not that, you know, I mean, you know, who knows, we may have young children watching this later. We just want to keep things relatively normal. Thank you, everybody, for behaving yourselves. But it's great not having to say that in the beginning and then, you know, quote policies and, you know, get your lawyer on line too type of situations here. But all right, it's nice to have this kind of community. And a lot of people, half the people in this community I know on a first name basis. So if I can if there's a virtual slap hand emoji, I'm not afraid to use it. But anyway, Anne. Are you good now? Because I'm getting
I'm
hungry. I need to
good.
grab my
I think
snacks.
I'm good. If
Okay.
everyone
Well, I
can
don't want to
see
miss your
that
entire
title,
presentation.
we're good.
I don't want to see you
Um,
miss your entire presentation. I need to go get my snacks. So I just didn't want to leave you hanging. So feel free to
Well,
start
the way
firing.
this, it's interesting the way this actually came about. It's
Mhm.
a blog post that I wrote in response to a couple of clients who were a little afraid of the block editor. One is still using the classic editor, and one didn't have a clue about something I explained in an email. And they just said, could you just explain what you're talking about? And a lot of times my blog posts are in response to client questions. So that's how this evolved. And it's really a beginner's guide to it. So I'll just take you through the steps. And if the pace is too fast or too slow, just, tell me and I'll make a self-correct. So as I mentioned, first of all, I'm a web designer with a lot of knowledge about front-end development. So that's my approach. And
is askdesign.biz your site?
askdesign.biz.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I'm going to drop it in there
Oh,
because
there you go. Yep. Thanks, David. I
yeah,
started.
feel free to introduce yourself for at least 30 seconds before you give the presentation. That would be great because I didn't ask you to do that. It's the hunger. It's the hunger that's making me forget.
Oh, yeah, low
I'm
blood
going to go get
sugar.
my snacks. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, he's got my Twitter account. Oh, that's Guy. Okay. So the short story is that I started using WordPress because I was teaching graphic design at a local college. And students would, year after year, students would ask me the same questions over and over again. So I thought, you know what? I can write a blog post or I can make a YouTube. I evolved into doing YouTube videos. So I have a YouTube channel. And sometimes the blog posts also have that YouTube video to go along with it. And one time I walked into class and I heard this really familiar voice, and I realized one of my students was listening to one of my YouTube videos. It was hysterical. So that's the short story. So let's just launch right into the Gutenberg blocks, right? I kind of went for it full-fledged a couple of years ago. Haven't done any FSE yet, full site editing. Listening in on what's going on with that, but I can't really address questions about that tonight because I don't know enough. But with Gutenberg, I just thought, let's just dive right in. And I had a little transition period where I used this. There were a couple of plugins that you can still use because some themes are not compatible with Gutenberg. And so you have to use one of the plugins is called the Classic Editor plugin. Let me just show you. Yeah, I've deactivated them, but these are the two that I'm referring to, the Classic Editor and the Disable Gutenberg Editor. So if you discover that your theme just can't use Gutenberg, and they usually page builder kinds of themes, you might have to install and activate one of these plugins. The Disable Gutenberg plugin is a little bit more robust and gives you a few more controls. So you can see I can, activate and play around with that at any time. So let's go to create a new post. And you can go off to the left sidebar, all posts there, add new. I'll open up my screen a little bit. And the first thing that happens when you have Gutenberg activated is that you get this, actually, let me fix something, hold on. There we go. That's the default screen that you'll get. And it tells you to add the title. So we'll just put a fake title in. And right away, you see you're all set to choose a block. And if you start typing, you're using paragraph block. That's the default. So two things done, we're good, right? But let's get a little bit a lay of the land first before we start actually using the blocks themselves. So there are some things up in the navigation area. I need to squeeze this in a little bit. So I hope you can see these 3 dots here. Yeah, if you can't, then give a shout out. But the first set of dots, whoops, right here, you got three there, but 3 here. So I'm within Gutenberg, you have these 3 dots. So these are the options, and then you have the gear for the settings, and then you have the sort of a hamburger menu for a list view. Let's go through each of these. These are what I consider the big 3 areas that you need to know about. So for the options, when you open that window up, you get a choice of these 3 views, and you can combine them actually, which can be very confusing. So I remember when I was first starting Gutenberg, it was like, what is going on? You know, where is this? Where is that? So this is talking about the toolbar. So right now we're in full screen mode. The top toolbar means the toolbar is at the top of the screen. If you disable that, it floats above whatever block you're in. So here's another block. And if you just hover around it, there's the toolbar, okay? So if you don't like that, and it's a matter of personal, personal choice. I like to have it float above the block. Maybe you don't. Doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's a matter of your personal preference. And then you have the spotlight mode, which I also don't use, but maybe you will. So you can go about here. Let's do another block. I'll explain what I'm doing later on, but here's H2 head. And I can spell. And you can see these other blocks are grayed out when you're not using them. And as soon as you do use them, they become the focal point. So that's the spotlight. And then this full screen mode, it's the default, and I just can't stand it, but maybe you like it. The reason I don't like it is because of this. When I deactivate it, I get the left sidebar. And as a web designer, web developer, I like to know, that's like rule number 1. I don't know how many of you know Jacob Nielsen, a usability expert, but his mantra is always know where you are and don't make your users guess where they are. So that's kind of my approach here. I always want this sidebar. Maybe you don't. Okay, so that's the 3 dots. Here's the gear. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I'm not done with the 3 dots yet. The editor section. So I'm just covering the view in the editor section. The default is the visual editor. And this gives you a general facsimile of what it might look like. It's not completely accurate, but it's better than nothing. As opposed to the code editor. Okay, everything's now in code, everything on the page. So it's an all or nothing thing in this section. It's a toggle, you can always go back. Okay, so that's it for this section. Settings. You'll see it's toggle on, toggle off, close, open. So it's open now, and this relates to the blocks that you're working on. That's the set of options for a paragraph block. I'm clicking on the H2 head. That's the set of options for an H2 head. So you've got text, background. I'll go over all of this in detail in a minute. Now, if you don't select a block, I've deselected the blocks, nothing's selected. It shows you the other tab here in the option settings section, which is relating to the entire post. So these are, fairly important things. It's about the status and visibility and publishing date of the piece. And this applies to pages as well as posts. It's the permalink. Where is this page or post? Categories. Now, of course, your set of categories will differ from mine. Tags. These are my most used tags. You could use a featured image. Maybe you don't want to. I've kind of gotten away from excerpts, but there's a use for them. If you don't want your SEO plugin to pick up something automatically, you can write your own excerpt. Do you want to allow comments or not? And of course, there's a global setting for that, site-wide, but you can override that here. And then these are depending on the plugins you have installed. So those two tabs, post versus block. Now, no block is selected, and it tells you no block is selected. So as soon as you select one, all that stuff comes up. Okay. And the third area, I'm going to, I guess I'll save this draft. I'm going to go back to my posts here. And I like this list view. You may or may not find a use for it. I find it very useful when the page is pretty complex and I have blocks embedded within other blocks, and I'm kind of lost about like, where's my block? Just tell me where the hell my block is. So I'll show you the basic outline of it. That's exactly what it is. It's an outline of the page. And if you select a block, it tells you right here. It highlights it. Pretty sweet. And it goes down as you select things. I'm going to try to select a more complicated area here. Let's see. Like maybe this. Where is that? If I scroll, oh, it's right here. So I have an image block inside a column block. Okay, that's good. If I'm having trouble selecting the block, maybe the list view will get me there in a better way. So that's the basic navigation, options, settings, list view. Now I have other things because I use Genesis themes and I have Cadence blocks installed. So you may not see those things. Let's go back to the top. We've got the lay of the land. And it's good to know, and again, toggle, show it, toggle, hide it. It's good to know how to add blocks, right? So I think there are 3 ways to add blocks. One is as soon as you hit the return key, no matter where you are, well, I lied, right? That's a bad one to show you. Let me get up here. Okay, as soon as I hit the return key, it says type to choose a block. So if I just start typing, I'm using the default paragraph block. I don't have to really choose it, it's there. But if I want another block instead of the paragraph block, I click on the plus sign, add a block. And then you get this, very small list, a sampling, and usually it's the most frequent ones that you've been using, and you can choose one of those. So let's put another head there. Now, what if, and I'm, you know, in this mode where my toolbar is following me as I go through the post. What if I don't want an H2? I click on that number, H2, and I select maybe an H6 head. So you know, I hope that H1 is the largest head, and then the sizes decrease as the numbers increase, which is weird, but true. So H1 usually is for the top guy right here, the title of the poster page. And for SEO, it's good to just use it that one time. So usually when you choose the head block, it automatically takes you to H2 for that reason. It's encouraging you in a very, you know, subtle way. No, don't use H1. So H2 is basically the default. Let me go back to, where was I? We're showing you how to add blocks. All right, so we've got that down. You've hit the return key and you add that way. Now, what if you want to choose a block that doesn't show up here? You can browse all. And it takes you to the left sidebar, like a mini sidebar or a sub sidebar. And again, I have cadence blocks, which I really like, obviously. It adds more blocks than your default set of blocks. If you don't have that installed, you'll see this text area first. And you can choose from any of these. You can scroll through, or why don't you just say, how about list? You can start typing the kind of block, even if you don't know the name of it. Like I think I want, do I want dots? No, I don't want dots. Do I want squares? You know, you just play around with it. It will take you, even with LI, it takes you to a list right there. You can get rid of that. How about media? You can put an image in. Takes you right there. So that's the second way to add a block. And that's kind of a roundabout way. You know, you do this, it's too many steps, you know, browse all. What if you just go directly here? Same thing. It just saves you a step. So it's good to know where those blocks are, how to get to them, and just start playing with them. If you don't know what some of them are, just try it out. So we've got the add block part done. And inserting blocks is similar, yet different. It's a little bit more control sometimes. Oh, this is yet a fourth way to add a block, by the way. I'm just hanging out here and maybe your cursor, oh, it shows you the plus sign that way. Same thing, okay? Now, what if I want to insert a block directly above or below the current block? There you go. You can do a selection of the block. And here's where the toolbar comes in handy. Options, either insert before or after, okay? So that's what I've done here. I've inserted before. And I'm going to make it bold just to have it stand out a little bit. How about insert after? Same thing, okay? Okay. Good so far, haven't lost anybody, right? Let me see what's going on in the chat. All good? What guy said, okay.
I think we're fine. I know you're about halfway through, so we won't rush you, but I think we're all we're all hanging in there, and I'm already pumping crackers inside me. So
Okay.
at least I hope
So,
these are crackers. Anyway, go ahead.
so we've already covered some of the common blocks. The paragraph, the default block, the heading is the next most common block. And then you've got the lists. You've got two different kinds of lists that you can choose from. So I'll click on the plus sign, a list, and you either have a bullet list, or maybe you want to change it to a numbered list. Okay, and the styling really varies. You can change the color here off to the left, bullet list. If I highlight it, of course, we know certain styling can happen here, but more advanced styling happens in the sidebar. And you can see the tab tells you it's a list block, start value. This is really cool, actually. You might want to put an image in between. Let's say an image goes here. And then start a new value underneath it with, 8. You can change that value. That's what this is. Color. That's the entire list, not an individual piece. Background. Okay. So basic styling up here, more advanced styling off to the right. It's telling me I have a contrast problem, which I don't want to deal with right now. Another common.
People tell me I have a contrast problem all the time. Just ignore it.
Oh no, now I'm compelled to fix it. Oh no. How about black? Yay.
In case someone doesn't know here, the WordPress editor can automatically detect the certain kinds of potential accessibility problems that it detects. And one of them is color contrast. I find it to be, it has a formula for it. And there's an established formula for it, because there's only so many, there's a large selection, but there's only so many kinds of colors and the contrast on them. About 95% of the time, I agree with it.
Yeah, there are exceptions for sure, for sure.
Yeah, but it's a very handy tool. So the point is that the editor is built with some baseline accessibility tips. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to insert my next block. And let's say it's a quote. How about if I put the search here? Okay. So we don't always have to go to the large list. We can actually do it right there. So you have a quote and a pull quote. I think they're just two different kinds of styling things. A pull quote is from magazine days where, you'd pull out a quote, like a famous quote or a really cool quote from David, and want to highlight that in the middle of 2 columns or something. So again, add like that, and then the citation. Whereas the other quote, full quote right there, and then they've got verse, which is, same thing. So images, really important to know how to add your images. So let's go and do that. Let me see. Let's add it right here. Plus image. So you can insert from a URL. I don't really do that very much because I have my own imagery, but you've either already uploaded to your media library, or you can upload right here. I'll go to the media library and just choose something, select it. You can put alt text here. Select it. Now, sometimes you'll get, this is exactly what I thought you might get. The width and the height you can adjust with these percentages. Now, one thing I don't like about this block, which I hope will be adjusted in time, is you can't, you can change the width here, but it doesn't change the height in proportion. Did it? No, it didn't change the height. So the height's 988, but if I change the width to 980, it doesn't do it in proportion with the height. So I'm not a fan of that method. I'd rather do this method here, or just if I'm confused, I'll reset it.
What happens when you set the width, but you delete the height? Is
I
that
don't know. I think it gets weirded out.
now delete it? So did it proportionately
know.
adjust when there's no
That's
height?
in it. I'll have to look into that. I don't know. Let's
All right, no
update
problem.
it.
Go on. My wife says I get one
Good
more interruption
question.
before my wife says I
I'll
get
look
one more
into it.
interruption before she cuts off my mic. So go ahead.
And so I'm resetting it. I'll go to 75%. So that's the sizing over in the more advanced section, the block area. But in the toolbar, your default alignment is none. And I find that troublesome. So I'm going to recommend that you choose an alignment. Just do it. Just go for it. It tends to solve a lot of problems. When you have no alignment, things can get a little wacky. What if you've chosen the wrong image? I really like this replace feature. You can upload a new one or go back to the media library and choose a different one. So I really like that. And you can assign a link to it. What else? You can put text on top of it. Reset that. What's this? Oh, you can create duotones. So a lot of cool things. Just play around with it. Takes all the color away, as you can see. It makes it into a duotone. So some really cool things that you can do. And I really like the adding of text over it. Now you'll notice that as soon as I chose the left alignment, the text wrapped around it. That's cool to know too. Whereas if you align center, there's no text alignment. Align right, the text will wrap on the opposite side. So all these really cool things. And I've shown you the original image versus a duotone version of it. And then again, text on top of an image. Now buttons. There are a lot of ways to do buttons. Plus, if you don't see it here, guess what? Buttons. Okay, very nice. So that's my work mode. You can see, excuse me, you can see what my preferences are. I generally don't go to this section unless I'm really, confused and I don't know what block I want to use. And here you can add your text and basic formatting here, justifying it, play, play, play. Try all these things. Again, I think you're better off choosing some sort of alignment rather than none. And more advanced styling off to the sidebar here. And you can also make it outline instead of fill. Width, color, background. How about outline? That's a little bit better. So maybe, half hour a day to just play around with these things. One of my favorite blocks is the columns block, and that's partly why I've installed cadence blocks, because it provides a more advanced columns section. But
Hey,
with,
Ann, for a second, can you just, is there a way to see all the blocks Cadence provides, or is that,
yeah,
can you just show that off real quick and then go back to columns? Because there were one or
for
two questions
sure.
earlier about it.
Let me see.
And
Why is it
Cadence,
not showing?
Guy or me will find the Cadence
There we go.
link and throw it into chat.
Yeah. All of these in blue.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I got to blow up my screen. Hold on. There we go.
It has a more advanced space divider, which is one of my go-to blocks as well. Row layout, advanced text, accordion. So naturally, a lot of times the plugins that you install depend on what the client needs. So if your client needs an accordion, give Cadence blocks a try.
Yes. Hopefully that's the only musical instrument in there.
Testimonials, show more. So it provides a lot.
So that's so you use it. So that's something you
I
would
do. I
recommend
like
for,
it. Yeah, for sure.
How easy was it to get used to this was it the first thing you tried after doing the basic blocks?
Yeah, for some reason, I think it's probably the accordion. One of my clients needed that. And I thought, well, let's see what plugin has an accordion. And I came up with, so once I choose a plugin, I tend not to do a lot of plugins, but once I like it, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
here's
it
the
comes
basic,
highly recommended. It comes highly recommended. Maybe we'll feature it next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the columns thing is pretty cool too. I
Yeah, the
agree with you on that.
columns, let me show you this basic one that's built in. So here's the basic Gutenberg columns. And it's really cool. I mean, you can go 100% width or 50-50, 30-70, a bunch of different things. Let's do in thirds. And each column, you can add something. Header column 1. They don't have to be the same. Obviously, you can put columns inside columns, which gets pretty wild. Paragraph, type something, please. Type again. Maybe an image. It gets a little funky though. Look how small it is. Oh, that's uploading, sorry. Media library, let's give this a try, see if it comes up. Oh, it's a little baby image. And then what have I not used lately? Buttons, add text. So this is what I was talking about before, where the list view would come in handy, because what block am I in? I want this block. Well, I'm pretty good at doing that, selecting it. But where is it? Oh yeah, it's within the second column, first column, So you kind of helps you navigate your way through. The spacer bar, I really like that. I mean, I'm all about my CSS doing the bulk of my work. But in a pinch, if I don't want to create a new style just to add 20 pixels of space, so I'll just do it here, use a spacer. There it is. And you can adjust the height up and down right here or right here, 80 pixels or 180 pixels. So much simpler. Now, we've talked about using Gutenberg blocks a little bit as I've been going along, like the styling of that toolbar gives you some pretty basic stuff. I haven't used italic. Okay, yeah, we've used italic. And then, we've got a link there, a hyperlink. So it's pretty basic stuff. Along with these other things, you can highlight stuff, inline code. But again, if you want a little bit more advanced styling, you go off to the block area on the right sidebar, and you can change that. And again, it's block wide. There, I wonder if reset, I don't know if you caught that, but 3 dots, reset, is a drop cap option. Okay. So it's pretty cool stuff. I think there may be an inline thing. Let me see. Inline. Yeah, inline code. So you could change some of it there, like a span. Now, moving the blocks is fun, I must admit. And I think moving the blocks is why I decided to just go for it, because it's so much easier to rearrange things with the move ability of the blocks. So you've probably seen already how modular the blocks are and how much easier it is to do a layout with them, especially with the columns. But moving them is really interesting, because before I'd have to copy and paste in a new place. But moving, it's just a matter of selecting the block and either moving up and down. It moves it to the next block up or down. Or you could drag it, which is could be a little tricky. You see that bar that shows up? Watch where the bar goes, and you're moving it that way. Now, this is what the reality is today. They could change it, because this select and drag business has been evolving as we speak. So that they might change it tomorrow to be another way to do it. But as of tonight, this is how you do it. These 6, I guess, 6 dots there. I don't know if you can see it okay on the screen share. Now, the third way to move something, I had to really play around with this. It is not intuitive. And I thought, what? How does this work? And I finally figured it out. It's not going to be my go-to method, but I wanted to show it to you. So you highlight the block. It's under the 3 dots. It's move to, and then I'm not using the mouse. I'm using my keyboard arrows. You see the blue bar. It's moving up and down. And then once you find a spot where you want it to be, the new location, you hit enter. Okay. You can tell people tomorrow you heard it from me today. That's how you use the move to. So that's the moving method. Copying is similar. I like duplicating a lot. It's just simply making an exact duplicate directly underneath the current block. Very straightforward. Whereas if you copy, it's in your pasteboard, and then you can go anywhere, up or down, and then paste it in. It doesn't even have to be in the same page or post. It can be somewhere else. Edit as HTML if you are brave and you know HTML. Sometimes you might have to just style something with code yourself, or if you have an affiliate link that you need to paste in. There are a variety of reasons why you might want to do it this way. But as opposed to the the visual editor where the entire page or post will convert to code editor. This allows you to just see the individual block in HTML. And it's a really cool way to learn HTML and CSS, I think, because then you see the tag, P, here's another one. Well, how is it, how is a list constructed? And you can learn a lot that way. So I'm a fan of that.
Hey, Ann, so as things are coming down here to the final 30 minutes or so are left of whatever we have here, do you know anything, what we want to show off a little bit of your skills in terms of, when you were showing, I forget what you were showing before, was it a list before or columns or something? When you were inserting the columns block, did you see right below the menu where you pick the columns block, there was examples, like example layouts of columns? Do you remember seeing that?
Was it right here?
No, just click anywhere and add a column. Or click anywhere and prepare to add a block. Like, yeah, anywhere, add a block. Okay, now stop. Now type in COL.
Well, it's right here, but yeah.
No, trust me. There you go. So have you ever played with those preset?
Oh, right here.
Yes, because I know somebody I think was asking the block patterns. Have you ever played around with these block patterns?
Not much, but yeah, they're very useful. I've used them on front pages a lot. That's another reason I'm using blocks, is to get away from the front page widgets. Evolving away from those. So yeah, these are really cool things. And depending on the theme, like Navigation Pro gives you a lot of, why is that not? There we go. It gives you a lot of pre-built, that's not what I wanted to do. Pre-built layouts. Columns. Wait a minute. There we go. So here's another one. Gives you these pre-built social links. So
yeah, so I would encourage anybody who's going in here, like you said, explore, and then sometimes if you type in the right words and don't directly go to a block, sometimes those.
Right, exactly.
We may, if anybody wants to talk about block patterns next month, we'd love to have it, because this is like when you get a theme, sometimes it comes with those block patterns. And while we're learning the basics here, which is definitely something we need, the block patterns can also save you a little bit of time, but you need to know these fundamentals right here. What would be the last couple of things, and you think fundamentally wise we should be aware of? Because we don't want to jump to patterns next month without
I think
knowing a few more of these things.
The wave of the future for WordPress is blocks. And a lot of the, I have some block friendly themes here. I've mentioned Navigation Pro, which I really like. And it does have a lot of those pre-built layouts in them. And Astra I really like as well. I have not explored these other three, but those are themes that have come highly recommended to me. And then some block plugins that I either use or have heard good things about. So that's it.
What would be what are your suggested places that you would, where have you gone? Because you have stuff on your blog, which is pretty cool. We've already directed people toward your blog and your site, but where do you go where do you go normally if you have questions about the blocks and stuff? Is there any particular site or place you usually find up when you Google something?
Well, I'm on the Slack channel. There's several WordPress Slack channels, and because I build with Genesis a lot, there are Genesis Slack channels. So and also Facebook.
So where in Facebook though? Because good Lord, I don't want to throw anybody just like blindly into Facebook?
I think there's a WordPress user group. I actually don't have Facebook open right now.
Well, please don't for my sake. There is, and I think Olivia or Guy probably knows, I think, or maybe I'm putting him on the spot. I think there's is it the advanced, maybe it's the advanced WordPress group I'm thinking of. I'm not on, like, I have an account on Facebook, but I don't have, honestly,
There
I
is
don't
an
go there.
advanced user group. Yeah.
Yeah, that I know, and I feel comfortable sharing that link because it's pretty, I know a lot of good people in there. But if there is a particular kind of group that's kind of well moderated and isn't too yucky, feel free to share it. We've had enough yuckness for one day. I don't want to throw people into Facebook blindly. Have you ever checked out the Learn WordPress site?
Like WP Learn or
Yeah.
And WP Beginner. I think they answer basic questions or address things, those basic things about WordPress. I think they do a good job of it.
Right. So those of us who aren't aware, there is the website learnwordpress.org, and I'll go ahead. I'll paste that for you into the chat. And of course, we already got links to your site as well in there. Hey, if you're in the chat now, I trust your judgment. If you want to link to something on YouTube or Facebook that you think is a good resource for, like, especially the beginner stuff for blocks, go right ahead. Because honestly, I'm not very good at this. I'm not very good at pointing people to good learning, because I learned by suffering. And that's not good for people. I don't want to ask people to follow in my footsteps, because I'm usually the one who has to try to build the blocks from the code side of things, not from the other way around. Although I did build my first site with zero development at all. I think Olivia and I built it. What was it, Olivia? It was WP19.day, I think, for the 19th anniversary of WordPress. So that was the first. Every other site I've built since then has been using a combination of blocks and code, but WP19 was the first website that me as a developer, like you almost I had to slap my hand. Like, oh, I can do this with code. And I had to slap my own hand and says, no, you're doing it with blocks.
Yeah.
Just like the Lord intended. Oh, no. All right.
Another thing I wanted to mention about the advantage of blocks versus page builders is that there's no short code involved. So it's transferable. You don't have to worry, well, now I want to change my theme. Now what do I do? Because a lot of times those all-in-one themes that you can get from Theme Forest, it's very attractive to clients. I've tried to talk a couple clients out of things, and they just love it. No, I can do everything. Okay. But the problem will come when they decide, oh, I don't like this theme anymore. Now what do I do? And it's going to be a mess.
What would be because you talk with clients, and a lot of us deal with clients. What is your usual pitch to someone to get them to start getting comfortable with the editor? Like, what do you do to convince people, or to slowly introduce them to it, if that makes any sense, especially clients who've had sites in the past? Is there any particular web method that you found to be the most effective?
I think just one area of focus at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I just spoke with a client a couple days ago who, they use a perfectly good theme, and it uses widgets, and she wanted to customize something on the front page. And I said, that would be so much easier with Gutenberg blocks. So I just put little digs in. She settled for not doing something that she really did want to do. But it just eases the pain.
Yeah. Me personally, like, I'm a big WordPress person. I honestly, I think I use the classic editor for a while, especially with my existing sites probably for at least 6 months.
I did
or
too,
more.
for at least 6 months, maybe even a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So even with the, even so those of you who are still picking this up or just starting to pick this up, there is no harm, no shame, no foul, whatever it is you want to call it, about just slowly ramping up on this, because there are the
Yeah.
people that have been doing this for a very long time. And then when blocks came along, we were still slow to change. We were eager to learn, but slow to change,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to clients, especially when it comes to your bread and butter, like what pays the bills. You don't really want to rock that boat, or you just want to rock
Mhm.
it slowly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure right now why I'm stuck on nautical themes, but yes, that's pretty much what we did. But then eventually, like, stay the course. There we go. Another nautical reference again, because eventually you are going to come across, once you learn the basics, you're going to be able to come across links like the one I just shared in Slack. No, this is not Slack. This is Zoom chat. This was Slack, we wouldn't have people coming in and trolling us. But if this is the Zoom chat right now is a theme called bright mode, and it could be a little bit overwhelming right now if you don't know a lot about blocks, or even you see the words full site editor, and even if you know what the full site editor is, you might be a little bit hesitant, because it's for a lot of people it's not fully baked yet. But it's going to be themes like this that will, I think, represent the future of WordPress development. But the good news is that WordPress is so big and so vast. There's a lot of people that are still very happy with not having to be on that edge. And there's a lot of us with clients and doing that work that are, we don't have to be at the tip of the boat. We're very happy being in the middle of the boat, because the middle of the boat is the safest, most stable place to be, at least in my opinion. But do you find, so is there any other tips that you may want to share in terms of where do we go from here?
Well, if you're looking at new themes, I would focus on the block ready themes. Shy away from the all-in-one themes.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple. The default themes that WordPress comes up with every year, 2022 is a perfectly good theme. Install it and play around with it. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but that's okay.
And how much have you played with it?
First of all, I always have a default theme as a backup. In case something bad happens with my current theme.
That's a good tip,
You
right?
need the WordPress site health thing always says to you, get rid of your unused themes. I disagree. It's like, no, you need at least one unused theme in case something really bad goes wrong with the current theme that you do have active.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, because troubleshooting, a lot of times in your WordPress website, there's some very common things that you can do to troubleshoot a problem, and whether that problem is like you suddenly get a blank screen, or there's an error on your site, or something's not working properly. The two best things that you can do, well, first of all, is make it. Hopefully, you have a backup, and then that's like step 0. But step 1 is like, if it's a plugin conflict, try to shut off as many plugins as you can. And then if the thing fixes itself, then you start turning on your plugins one by one until you figure out the culprit. Or what Anne just said, if you have a theme that you can go back to, like a WordPress default theme, because all the WordPress default themes are mostly quote unquote safe, right? So if you switch to your theme and you don't see the error message anymore, or that means there's something with your theme, some sort of coding, or at least you've narrowed it down to your theme, and then hopefully you can find the person, whoever built that theme, corner them in a restaurant and ask them, like, what's wrong with your theme? That's assuming they're dining at the restaurant and not working at the restaurant.
Little tip of advice. I build child themes. So if you're using a theme, let's say 2022 is the basic substructure of your theme, and then customizing the hell out of it. Don't customize 2022. Make a child theme of it and use that for all your customizations. Because if 2022 may not be the best example, but if it does get updated and you've customized all this stuff, you may lose all those customizations. Whereas a child theme is built on top of that basic theme. And all the customizations will still be intact if something gets updated in the parent theme.
Good point. Good point. And before we go into questions, because Guy's got some questions, or he's got questions that he's collected. It's one of the two. If there's anything that anybody wants to see potentially for next month, feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can direct messages through Meetup. But if you drop it in the chat now, either privately or publicly, I'm going to remember better, and Guy will remember better too. So anyway, so while you're thinking about those things, maybe inspiration that Ann or anything else that's been shared here tonight, anything, or if you have, I know, so some people in the chat were going, yeah, this cadence is this, cadence that. Well, put up or shut up. Feel free. You don't have to show us your website. Maybe, I don't know what kind of, I don't want to see all your private bits, but maybe you got a screenshot to share and you can talk a few minutes about your best theme or what you like about cadence or any other plugins or themes involving blocks, because we really want to take this to another level next month. Now that we have the basics down, maybe we can start playing with more advanced blocks, see what block patterns are. And eventually, by the time we get to full site editing, maybe it'll be done. But anyway, I'm sorry, Ann. Let's guys.
No need to apologize. It's all good.
No, let Guy throw a few questions at you. Well, my blood sugar maintains itself. Go ahead.
All right, Ann.
Hey, Guy.
Hi. Back when you
Guy's our man. Guy's the best question asker.
So Ron was asking about the design library, because I don't think you had pointed it out during your talk.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I do have a little shortcut to in the chat there that does talk about it, but if there's something that you wanted to mention about it, because I think what that is the collection of pre-made blocks and patterns and such that is kind of a one-stop shop to instantly add code, or I mean blocks, instead of having to hand code. Or
let me see. Yeah, I actually noticed that when I was writing this tutorial. I must admit I'm not terribly familiar with it, because I generally create custom websites and I don't look at a lot of pre-made templates. But yeah, I think that's a great tool that it's going to be on my must look at list.
Yeah, from what I remember, it kind of pulls in when I know a lot of people talked about Genesis or Divi or Elementor, or you have Beaver blocks and all that, or Beaver Builder. The idea of Gutenberg was trying to make a little bit more drag and drop friendly interface to be similar to those page builders, and also to Battle, Wix, and Squarespace and all those. But the design pattern or design library, when you're looking for a particular block style, it's showing you basically built-in little patterns that bring together more than just an image. If you know you wanted a header image or a cover image, and you wanted a call to action button, and you wanted some text in there, there's
I'll do a quick screen share while you're talking, guys, so people can see what you mean.
Sure. It's kind of similar to Elementor when you're looking at pre-made templates.
It's like this right here. Yeah, design library. And they have a filter off to the left, accordion. Ooh. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I think one of the challenges of being a designer right now, or developer, is keeping up with all the changes. They have starter packs. Did I see a price sign somewhere? Maybe not. But yeah, starter packs. This is cool stuff. So it's hard for me to, come up with a custom design and then find a template to match that design. It's not my my process, but something worth exploring for sure.
Somebody asked also, them kids, I think was their name. They were asking about, can you add space or adjust the space in between blocks?
Yeah.
my default question was, you could always add a spacer block.
Exactly, right. Right. I mean, again, I do a lot of the spacing above and below heads and paragraphs and lists. All of that is in the style sheets for me. But in a pinch, if I just want to add space right there and be done with it. I don't want to go through the trouble of creating a new style or using a style. So SP spacer right here, it's like, how easy can that be? Right? And you can see here how tall it is, 362, in case you're not keeping track of this little thing that shows up in the corner, 158. Oh, I wanted it 162, so you can really be specific about it. And then it doesn't appear here. You don't see it unless you know it's there. You can click on the block, but it will show up on the front end.
All right. And then Mimi also asked about, does Gutenberg blocks or even Cadence blocks, does it have something similar to like Elementor had with containers, where you can change the color, the background?
Well, yeah, I think I know the Navigation Pro theme has containers, which is why I use that theme. But let's check it out.
I'm going to drop it before, as you go on, I'm dropping a message in the chat as we are finishing up here, like the last 10 minutes or so. Normally what we do in Meetups is, if anybody needs any questions or help, they drop a email address with their question or something, and somebody can contact them afterwards. While we are answering these questions, I'm just make you aware, if you're listening to this in the chat, if you are looking for something specific, you want to drop your email address, now's the time to do it. Just letting you know. Okay, I didn't want to. Okay, continue. Ooh,
no,
continue with
cool.
the pretty.
Yeah.
Ooh, you're making pretty things appear.
Here
ooh, nice.
in a container. I don't know where it's putting any of this. Where's my cursor?
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Well, it did show you the section, and section is kind of, I think section is kind of like a container, and it is in blue. So I think that's one of the add-on blocks, probably from your Cadence. I know I also
go to the bottom.
I usually load up stackable blocks.
There we go.
Because they have a couple unique ones. And I think,
oh, is that a plugin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, here's one of the presets. Yep. And you can change the focal point. I'm going to try to change it to.
Man, I must be hungry, because that just looks like a close-up of a chocolate chip cookie.
A brownie.
A brownie, that's what I saw.
Oh, and by the way, you can size it here too.
Oh, it's huge.
Huge. Yeah, we want it huge.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a container, but I know what she's talking about, and unfortunately, I don't see it in the Cadence blocks, but it does come with the Navigation Pro. It might be part of their theme or one of their included plugins. I just can't remember. But what I like about it is you can go full width with the container. I like that a lot. One of my client sites might even use it. Let's see. Yeah, something like this. So this is an example of a site that used front page widgets. And we were actually having a problem with this video from Wistia. And I had to like fiddle and diddle with the front page widgets to make it display. It was some JavaScript thing. I don't know what the problem was, but I got it to display. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Let's change the whole page to blocks. So for example, this blue background is in a container on the back end, and then the subscribe block is inside that container block. So it's really cool. And same thing with this. So anytime you see a full screen thing, I think I need a full width container for that. It's really good if you're not a theme developer and you need to be able to do these things to know what your options are. And the other advantage is now the client can actually go to the home page. It's an actual page with content now, and they can change it. They might be able to figure it out.
Hey, there's always a chance, right? Do we have any other questions? It's getting close to my bedtime.
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, Anne, I really appreciate the fundamentals are important when as in anything, especially when we are looking forward to building the more complex sites that we have seen tonight. And you've done a fantastic job. So I want to give you, I want to give you a little yellow emoji clap.
Oh.
And it's so small. I don't know why Zoom makes these things so small. It looks like it looks like a breadcrumb from where I'm standing on my monitor. You deserve more than a breadcrumb, but for now, we'll just give you a little clap. Wait a minute. How about this? How's that? Is that? Nope. That just looks like a little tortilla chip. That doesn't even look like a celebration icon. Yeah. Oh, I see double hands. I should have used the double hand emoji.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. At least.
Where is that? Is that in reactions?
I have an application on my Mac
yeah, you
called
can get
Rocket
more.
that allows me to insert emoji into anything. So I don't even know what the emoji codes are anymore. I just use this Mac app that inserts it for me.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for having me. It was great to be here.
Makes good ducks, apparently. I don't know why. But anyway, but yes, it was thank you very much. I don't know why.
Vito's app looks great.
What's that?
Vito's app looks great.
Yeah, well, it's his app plus, lots of other people too, I'm sure. Yes, too bad he had to go sleepy time.
Yeah.
He's in England over there. Why a duck? Why not, Ron? What do you have against ducks? So what we have here tonight, we had 2 great presentations. Now, what we're hoping for, hopefully, if the same people here tonight wanted to kind of carry this a little bit forward, we would like to spread the word and see if anybody wants to share a little bit more about block patterns and, cadence and a few other things that we can add, like a block on top of another block, add to our knowledge. See what I did there? See? Yes. Are you somebody writing this down? This is good stuff. Guy, you are the resident expert on many, many things here. Are we missing anything? What would you like to share? What meetup, or at least tell us what meetup you're from?
All right. Well, thank you. I'm representing, there's a couple of us here, the Southwest Florida meetup, which covers Collier and Lee County for the most part, Southwest Florida. So we're just across the Alligator Alley from you. I know that doesn't probably mean much to people in Alberta and London, but I did note that we had 8 different states represented today, and including ours, 3 countries. And we had people from Hollywood, Minneapolis, South Carolina, Nevada, Colorado, and
someday we'll get Rhode Island.
Georgia.
Someday.
Yeah.
It's
I do think we had one of those original early day pandemic giant mega meetups where we had 120 people. I think we had 30 different states covered. So
yeah, well, that's
probably a record. And
I think
a lot of free prizes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. I think people thought I was giving away a car that night. I may have accidentally have implied that to get a little bit more people to come. So yeah, they're not going to fall for the same thing twice, sir. So, yeah. But we want to thank Guy for everything. We want to thank Olivia for helping me produce tonight. So what we'll do is let me switch real quick here. So Guy has the links. If you come to learn of this through Guy, then you already know where to go. But there is also this page. We have this this mega meetup page. it is from the South Florida WordPress users group, but we have a lot of people in this group that don't actually live in South Florida now. So, you know, feel free to attend or join. And we are going to put the August one up. Like I said, I'm going to start working now. I'd love, you know, Guy will pass along if anybody wants to share a bit about like anything about cadence themes or any plugins or themes that help you build blocks for your site or site themes. I think it's a little too early to get into full site editing, but if you want to give it a shot, feel free. We can always learn, because we always like to see what's coming up in the future, because like it or not, full site editing. And I think it will be cool once some things are ironed out, just like Gutenberg was when 5.0 was released. We're in the same kind of growth period there. Take all my neighborhood ducks. Okay, Joel, thank you for being the thanks, Joel, for being the sentence that wraps up this WordPress meetup. Again, we want to thank Vito, who's sleeping. We want to thank Guy. We want to thank Anne, and we want to thank Olivia. So we did share the YouTube URL. Olivia, if you're listening, can you paste that in chat real quick? We'll get this up in the next couple of days. I think we have to stitch two things together and then we'll publish it. But in the meantime, I think that's it. Guy, can you think of anything else we might be missing?
I don't think so. I'm going to go through this, and I took some notes, and I've tried to capture all the links that were shared by the presenters. And so if I get the chance, I will even put up like a little review post, and I'll send it out to the Meetup group, and I'll send it to you so you can share it with the South Florida group.
Yeah, we'll also drop that information into the description of the video. So if you know nothing else tonight, bookmark the YouTube channel, and then we'll make sure that information's in the video description as well. So, and then feel free to follow. Guy will put his Twitter handle in the chat. I'll put mine in there. If anybody else wants to throw theirs in there too, feel free, be my guest. I did get Leonard, I did see your tweet. I'm going to actually wait and tweet it tomorrow during midday so it gets the most exposure as possible, but I did see that. So thank you again. If that's it, thank you very much for coming by. See what we got next month, and have a safe evening. I think I speak for all of us where we say, please be safe wherever you are in the world. Have a good evening, and talk to you later. And I'm going to leave, physically leave, but I'm going to leave the chat. I'm going to leave the Zoom on for about 10 minutes in case anybody wanted to scroll back up and get anything from the chat. You can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to shut off my audio and video and then close Zoom in about 10 minutes. All righty. Thanks again, Guy. Good seeing you. And good seeing everybody else I recognize too.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Vito, who's already gone, but all right. Thank you, everyone.
Vito's spirit will live on. Thanks, guys. Ciao.